Hi and welcome to the Bramley Apple YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about the Leica Summicron-M 50mm, which is this tiny little lens. You have seen this mounted on the Leica M cameras, where it belongs. You have seen it in a previous video, but today I have mounted it on the Lumix S1 to show you how small the lens really is. I will take in the lens hood, which make it seems bigger than what it is, and this is the actual size. Remember that there is an adapter to put it on the Lumix, but the lens itself is just this little piece here, so it is very small. I managed to buy my first Leica M in 2014, and I enjoyed with it the 35mm Summicron. That is a lens, a very old lens from 1978, and I enjoyed this old lens in the digital times, and it was very good. The results were fantastic, but I always lasted after the 50mm Summicron, and I needed this standard lens. Finally, I found a good deal. In fact, it was too good to be true online, and there was this lens that was brand new and not very expensive. So I decided finally to buy this very special lens, and it was 2016. After I paid what was a lot of money for me, for a standard lens, it was an enormous amount of money. Because I have small pockets, and but for the Leica standards, that was it was a real bargain. Anyway, I had to wait for more than 1 month to get it, and I was starting to worry because it was a long time to wait for a lens, and I paid so much, so I was a little bit worried. But finally, after 1 month, the lens did arrive, and it was perfect. It was the genuine article, and I was much relieved to receive it. This lens has been, and probably will be also in the future, the most expensive lens I've ever bought, even considering it was a bargain price. But it deserved a proper ritual before I started using it for any ordinary stuff. So I really wanted to give it the right start and do something special with it. And so my Nude project had not begun yet. So at the time I didn't start my project with nude models. So I decided to search for a meaningful portrait opportunity in Milan. Every day I was going to work, I was meeting a lot of people that I never knew before, so it was the right place to try. Only a really special person would become my first subject with this lens. It was like a sort of a breaking in ritual ceremony, something like that. So only on the third day I had the lens, and I was taking it with me every day. Only on the third day I found a pretty Armenian girl in the train station. I was in Porta Garibaldi coming back home, and I found this Armenian girl, and so I asked her if I could take the picture. We made double sure by asking also her husband and all the rest of the family that was traveling with her as well. But finally I was allowed to take my picture of her. You can check out the link that I put below for my personal account on Instagram, and this is the picture that I just show you here very briefly. So it was in July 2016, and this was the underground passage in the Milano Porta Garibaldi train station, and this practically was the lens was wide open at f2 to cope with the dim light of the station's underground passage, and this was the best way to introduce this new lens in my workflow. And I was then able to use it for anything else, because the spell of the new lens was broken, and I was now free to use it for every other thing, even the most ordinary things. So we get back to the camera. So when I took this first picture, it was the middle of July 2016, and in November, just 4 months later, I started the Nude project that then became known as Bramley Apple. And I think this is not just a coincidence, if you ask me. The time was ripe, and also the arrival of this lens really meant something to me, and so probably I started all the project also thanks to this lens. In my nude shooting, the Leica M and the Summicron 50mm combination has been used in most of the shootings and most of the pictures. The Summicron 50mm lens has also been used on the old and detested Sony A7 that I really don't like, but I did try also this lens on it, and has also been used on the Lumix S1, this one. And usually I was using this lens on these cameras when the ISO settings were getting too high for the sensor of the Leica M240, that is an older sensor, and it's the performance of the lens has always been flawless on every camera. So the Leica M is a great sensor, but up to 1016 ISO, and then the maximum is 3200, but it is already not a very good quality for low light performance. Instead, with the other cameras, the Sony A7 and this one, I was able to push the ISO a little bit higher, and so when I was in dim lights, this lens was just transferred to the other cameras, and it performed always very, very well, also on the other cameras. The difference of using this lens on this mirrorless camera instead of the old sensor of the M240 is between turning on all the artificial light inside the house, or to get the right quantity of light for the Leica M, or the choice to push the ISO of the Lumix, for instance, and managing the quality, maintaining the quality of light coming from the window alone. So that is the most important thing. To shape the body of the model, it is much better to have a single source of light. Maybe the window light is perfect. And so when you put on all the lights in the room, you tend to ruin this effect. That is much better to have a single window light. So with the combination of this lens, and this is quite a luminous lens, and the sensor of these newer cameras that were able to push up to 4000 ISO and still give a good quality, I was able to retain the only window light. So that was a great way to work for me. And nowadays I can actually make this choice and still keep using this lens, which is so good. The Leica lenses might be very expensive, but they are really special glass to put in front of your camera, of any camera. And this is not the very fast Summilux version, or the faster still Noctilux, or the incredible expensive Apple Summicron, which is the same aperture of this, but it is much more expensive. This is just the ordinary 50mm Summicron-M, and it will last several lifetimes and never stop to give you the beautiful pictures and the physical joy of using a compact and jewel-like lens. So I would suggest always to try and afford this type of lens. You can buy a diamond and it will never lose its value. But after all, a diamond is just useless. Not if you ask my wife, but if you ask me, the diamond is just useless. Or you can buy a Rolex watch. That's better because it can also tell you what time it is. Or you can buy a Leica lens and enjoy taking some of your best picture. So, if you can, always invest your money in good lenses, and you will never regret it. One day you can decide to sell it, and it will still be worth much more money than any of the plastic autofocus lens from any camera brand, assuming they are still working. So this was the 50mm lens. In the description of the video you will find a lot of links to go and see the various pictures I've taken with it, and you will find some from the first shootings that I have made, starting from 2016, right up to the later ones of last year. So thank you very much for the moment, and we will see you in the next episode. Bye bye.